Welcome back to the greenhouse, everyone. And if you're new here, welcome aboard. Today, I wanted to share with everyone what we discovered for all of our heating methods, all of our cheap and or free heating methods throughout the winter, what worked best, just an in general update of how this winter went for us, incurring very little cost on the homestead in general, and just doing things as cheap as possible to grow the entire winter. And we've already shifted into spring as spring kind of just hit us like a wrecking ball here. Along with all of our cars, I've just had an interesting month here. We've had a couple cars break down, so we've had to pay to get some of them fixed, and I had to fix the rest of them myself. So everything back up and running. Here we are. I feel like I've just been burning it at both ends, trying to time manage, because all of these plants require a little bit of time, a little bit of dedication, and along with having a laborious day job, raising kids, and just running a homestead in general. Most of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Most things will just hit you at once. When it rains, it pours. So here we are on the bright side of things. So we've got everything fixed. Everything's up and running. Wanted to come out and make this video with you guys today. So if that sounds interesting, please consider subscribing. Let's go ahead and run down here all the way back to the beginning of the greenhouse. I've been out here jamming out, getting some work done. I still have my little heater set up. This thing is pretty darn cool. It's decently warm. Lots of little sprouts down on this end, just trying to sprout up little clusters of whatever we can so we can get them over on our tables and get them ready to be sold. Within about a month, a little over a month here, we'll be hitting our farmer's market. When I'm coming through planting all the market crops, I like to do a bunch of trees. So these are all either Asian pears right here in this cluster, or apple trees. So we'd like to get a bunch of stuff going for ourselves while we're trying to provide a bunch of plants for everybody else. So back to what I was talking about, which was passive and solar heating. There's 4 ways we use to heat our greenhouse, and I was showing a completely solar powered system, only solar power running that little heater, fan, radiator system. Underneath those plants in aquaponics, we have a large tank of water. So using the sun passively, creating yourself nice little microclimates, using large volumes of water, like ponds, 55-gallon drums, our compost heater down there. I'm going to check that out in a second. Just simply taking advantage of any sunlight, free energy that you can. I just got that little bubbler running, putting a lot of oxygen into here. We've got all of these little crops popping up. Really liking the cool pond water. This is all watercress here. Bunch of little watercress. And they've actually got some roots thrown off already, so we're doing pretty good. This elderberry, this thing is a monster of an elderberry root right there. It's just thriving in the greenhouse pond. So just by simply recycling old materials, windows, boxes, using anything you can to be able to achieve a little extra heat in your greenhouse for free, that is game in my book. We are going to do whatever we can, as long as we can. Use as much thermal mass, as much solar power, as many microclimates as we possibly can. Just by recycling old windows and creating microclimates, you can do a lot of free things. You can do a lot with free items. We have done a lot on this channel just for basically free, picking up Facebook Marketplace stuff for free and repurposing it in the greenhouse most of the time to benefit us throughout the winter time. Everything we do in here is basically geared towards surviving the winter and making spring easier on ourselves. If you're building a greenhouse, definitely angle it. Give yourself the most surface area you can facing the sun throughout the winter time. So you do have to track your sun. It's always usually going to be in the south. Ideally, you just want it running east and west, so you have all your southern sun in the winter time to provide decent heat. You can go all the way up to like 4B, 3A, I believe, without using much lighting, and you can still get enough solar energy. It's very weak. It's pretty weak because we've done it for quite a few years, and the supplemental lighting makes a huge difference. I will state that. Putting 25-watt bulbs in here with grow lights and minimally using that energy that we pay for. We paid about $10 to $16 a month to operate our grow lights for a couple hours every day to extend our sunlight and get better results with our plants. So having plenty of water sources that are sun accessible without growing a ton of algae. There's a lot involved with it. Our pond grew a ton of algae. The compost heater didn't so much. It was a lot shadier. Our black drum doesn't, and the other tank was pretty well covered up. So where you have sun meeting your water, it's going to develop algae. So possibly growing things into that water will alleviate some of those issues. There's literally hundreds of passive ways that you could be using the free energy from the sun to heat and store heat in your greenhouse, whether it's in bricks, sand, wide open soil, like we have a live bed in this greenhouse. There's tons and tons of ways. So I really won't beat it to death, but it's very important to use all of the free resources that we have. Now, next on my list is the greenhouse stove heater. Let's go jump down there. It may only be 36 degrees, 37 degrees outside. It's like 88 down on this end. I don't have my shade cloth up. Got my 50-cent shirt I found at my discount store. This shouldn't offend any Americans. Anyways, get this clip back on here so we can hear me. We're back down here at the stove. We've got this greenhouse stove. This cost me about $200 investment, about $100 for the stove and about $100 to run the exhaust and the pipe and everything. Now we use this stove with a bunch of free materials. We've got tons of shed around all of our property. So we're constantly picking up our own tree shed branches and stuff, cutting them up and using them. But we've got tons of free wood chips and running them through our big sifter outside, getting them over dried under our shed, and then cycling them into the greenhouse, we're able to get a ton of free BTUs. Now, greenhouse stoves are a ton of work because they have to be fueled, they have to be maintained. We do make our own charcoal from some of our sticks and stuff like that. Very simply, I want to bring a video on DIY charcoal also. Pretty easy to do. So using charcoal and lump coal and stuff in here, like this potbelly stove was designed for, wood chips work very well too. Because of the design of the stove, it's hard to fit large logs in there. It's not very big. So we're able to burn that for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours with directly coal. And then we get maybe an hour to an hour and a half out of a full load of wood chips as long as they're dry. And that's just it. Using this stove requires a lot of energy to keep it going, but for the amount of BTUs you get in return, it's well worth it. It's hard to replace the BTUs you get from a wood stove. There's tons of ways we can use the heat from the stove, like this little heat transfer system. We transfer heat right over to our 55-gallon drum, raising that 55-gallon drum by a couple degrees every hour, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on the starting temp and how hot our fire is and everything, how much sunlight we got to operate our solar pump. So not only storing the heat, energy, and water, we've got all these 250 plus bricks surrounding our stove, just soaking up that energy and re-releasing it at night. We have no fans up here now, but I used to have a fan behind these bricks blowing it out. I'm going to build a new array of fans to put more heat faster down to the other side of the greenhouse. And I may experiment with some draw tube that goes all the way down. I'm not sure yet. Drop me some ideas. So the greenhouse stove kind of ranks lower than most of the others on my essential list for a greenhouse startup in winter. I mean, it would be nice to have a wood stove, but it's a lot of work to operate it if that's the only thing you're using to heat the greenhouse through the entire winter. So the next thing I want to talk about is our geothermal. So we've got our geothermal tube here. I'm going to grab the camera and we're going to check this out. So the geothermal tube, we've got a little 4-inch, 88 cubic foot per minute fan running off simple solar power. The same fan has been operating our compost heater. So as this 4-inch drain tile comes down, it shoots straight over to the dead center and it goes down maybe 3-4 feet right here and then straight down to 7.5 to 8 feet all the way to the exit. I always like to throw the microphone down there just to check it out. So this actually used to be the Y that was under the ground, and we ran 1 and 2 geothermal tubes to each side of the greenhouse. Now in hindsight, I really wish I would have done the geothermal before I built the greenhouse, and I wish I would have done more. I wish I would have laid 10 tubes and ran them all throughout the greenhouse, but this is what we've got, and it was a great experiment. I've learned an absolute ton just from this little system here. It is constant. It's always blowing, even with very minimal sunlight. It's still putting out 50 to 55 degrees, and we're able to run multiple solar fans off just that one system there. So the little geothermal tubes down here are able to cycle all of the air of this greenhouse with loss maybe 2 to 3 hours. So on 100% efficiency, it's like an hour and 40 minutes or something like that, that I had figured out the 3,900 cubic feet we have in here cycled every 1 hour, 46 minutes, I believe. I will have to check my math on that. I'm figuring with efficiency loss that we're probably 2 to 3 hours. Even if it doesn't exchange exactly with the heated air at the top, it's still blowing cool air throughout the entire greenhouse. And you can see how well, whatever this is a 7-top turnip, just growing like crazy off of the geothermal, and it's one of the bigger ones down here. If you are thinking of designing or building a greenhouse, incorporate geothermal. You will thank yourself later because it is super efficient. You can throw a simple solar panel up, simple fan, and just push that air. Even if you're not pushing as much as you could, you're still not having an electric bill, which is great. And you're achieving something that is going to provide a lot of life to your greenhouse throughout the winter time. So the last thing before this video drags on too long here is our compost heating. We're blowing 75 to 80 degrees out of this tube. And the compost pile in general for most of the winter was between 40 and 50 to 60 degrees above the ambient temperature outside. At times it was 80 to 100 degrees above the ambient temperature outside, and we did not insulate it. We just used the pile and let it form its own crust and lost a lot of matter that was able to be burned, but we were able to hold temps throughout the last 3, 4, 5 months. And drawing that through here with water and with air, that actually feels pretty warm. It's on a cycle and it hasn't been running. I just kicked it on manually. That feels good. It's not 100-degree water anymore, but it's probably about 80 degrees, be close to 80, 90. I'll have to get the thermometer out and we'll film a video on this itself. Anyways, this is how we've been using a massive compost pile to draw a bunch of heat in here for absolutely free. We've got our solar powered fan, we've got our solar powered pump running on a timer, just 100% free energy cycling heat into our greenhouse. This system, along with all of the other systems I've shown today, have got us through the spring temps, the dead of winter temps, the polar vortex temps, and it's allowing us to get going early in spring, sprouting tomatoes in here. When if I didn't have all these systems, I don't think I would be able to sprout the warm season crops because those overnight temps, it would be very hard. A polytunnel greenhouse is super hard to hold your temps in. We do have 2 layers on this greenhouse with a 6 to 8 inch air gap, but still, it's just plastic. So having the heat inside the greenhouse, we have to do something or else we would be at a loss throughout the winter. So I'm really not covering the compost heating as much as I usually do because we'll come back out and we will discuss all of this separately in its own video. There's my boy who's out there doing controlled burns on all the grass. So if you guys are thinking of heating a DIY greenhouse as cheap as possible, there's a lot to think of with everything I shared today. I mean, I just kind of hit on it real quick and moved to the next thing. So I'm sure there will be questions. Feel free to drop those in the comments below. We've got hundreds and hundreds of comments to get to, so I apologize. Don't forget to drop ideas for us to film this summer. We have a lot of content that we want to film, just finding the time for it. So thank you guys for watching these videos, and I will see you in the next one.